And it'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right, thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, once again, we thank each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively for the opportunity to share this transmission with you at this time. It is a great gift that you give to our civilization in allowing us to experience through each of you that many more facets of the multidimensional crystal of creation. We would like to begin this transmission in the following way. We have titled this transmission, The 5 Hybrid Races. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about far more than 5. We are going to give you now, at this time, a little bit bigger picture of the path of the evolution on Earth and where it's heading, incorporating the idea of the 5 hybrid races within this overall picture, but beginning sooner and going further, so that you have a better map, a better understanding of what Earth is participating in on a grander scale at this time. Now, before we begin to explain this map, this path, the phases that are involved in what has brought you to this point and what will take you further as a species, we are going to allow briefly, we're going to help facilitate briefly another being to come through for a few moments to give you a list of names. You may not understand what this list is at first. Many of them will sound foreign to you. That's all right. After the list has been delivered, we will go over the list again and explain what each of these names is a reference to. Give us a moment. Anu, Vikwadesh, Adama, Eva, Maz-e, Mazani, Sasani, Shayael, Yayael, Shah, Linaya, Enanika, Anuhet. All right, now that you have this list, let us begin at the beginning and explain what each of these mean. As we have discussed from time to time, the Anu are a race of extraterrestrial beings that came to your world hundreds of thousands of years ago. And without going too much more deeply into the story than what we have already imparted to you, suffice to say, the Anu, or as many of you refer to them in ancient text as the Anunnaki, were responsible for infusing their genetic material into the naturally evolved hominid species on your planet that you often refer to as Homo erectus and various similar types of early human form. And with the infusion of their DNA into Homo erectus, thus created what you now consider yourselves to be as Homo sapien, human. Now, the second word, vades, is a reference to this early hominid form, Homo erectus, as you call it. In the ancient tongue, viqua means seed. Desh means template. So it is the seed template that was used to create Homo sapien. The initial manifestation in the ancient tongue, Adama, again translated in some of your stories as the idea of Adam. The idea then, as related metaphorically in some of your early literature, your religious literature, your early scrolls and texts, the idea of the creation of the female form by the utilization of the early male form of Adama to create the female representation of the Eva or Eva or Eve. The idea being that this represents, no offense, gentlemen, but the Eva represents the first hybridization upgrade of the human form. I know that many of the females in the audience are pleased to hear this. Therefore, with the Adama and the Eva, you then had the basic idea of the male and female human forms. It does not mean that there were not female forms in the Vquadesh, in the Homo erectus. Just that the way in which the female Homo sapien was created by the Anu utilized the initial template of the Adama to make sure that it would be, as you say in your language, a hybridization upgrade. Now, once that existed, once the human forms existed in what you recognize as your present male and female forms, and the human race began to flourish and replicate and spread, remember that we have told you the story of another parallel Earth reality that destroyed their world, and that the humans on that world became mutated into the form you call the Greys. And because they had mutated in such a way, hybridized themselves in such a way to be able to survive on their destroyed version of Earth, they were no longer able to reproduce. And they knew that they would die out if they did not seek out somehow, somewhere, a viable source of still existing human DNA. They used their advanced technology, as we have told you before, to tunnel into various parallel reality versions of Earth, including yours, to find viable human DNA, to infuse with themselves to create hybrid civilizations that would allow their culture to continue and not die out. But the idea of the early Grey, in a sense, because it was something that was created that changed them into a form that could adapt to their dying world, in a sense, is the first hybrid race. The Greys in the ancient tongue are the Maz-eh. The Maz-eh are what came into your parallel reality and began the hybridization agenda. So the Maz-eh, the Greys, formed the first hybrid race. The first hybridization level or phase that followed the Maz-eh, or Grey beings, is what we call the Mazani. These are what many people in these encounters have recognized as the tall Greys. So they are the next stage of hybridization from the Greys that began to incorporate human DNA and allowed them to begin to change to something a little bit closer to resembling the idea of a hybrid that could continue their species. But it still was not sufficient for a number of reasons. But they were the second hybrid race and, in a sense, phase one of the hybridization agenda. After that came our civilization, the Sasani.